Hello everyone and welcome back to another Rise of Kingdom video. This is your boy Jerani, and today I want to talk about Imhotep because I find his primary skill to be really OP, specifically when you obtain his expertise. Now that the game has been released for quite a very long time, there isn't much to talk about epic commanders. Pretty much KvK 1 utility, maybe some of them a little bit on KvK 2 and 3 and a little bit later on as well, because we do have a lot of commanders epic like Joan of Arc, which makes her very universal, right? Because she is a support commander, and this is what Imhotep does as well, with his primary skill offering a lot of support on the battlefield, helping your other marchers inflict more damage on the targets, which is very rare when it comes to KvK 1, 2 and 3. We do have Aethelflaed, right? Aethelflaed does up to 5 targets, quite a big range. Aethelflaed is also hitting, but it debuffs with attack, defense and health, and it does it for 2 seconds. So this is a total different debuff. This is damage, making the targets to take more damage. This is also something that Mulan does with her 4 skill, and because Mulan 4 skill it is a passive skill, this is an active skill that would also stack, which brings you to a lot of possibilities that you can do for KvK 1, 2 and 3 when it comes to debuffing targets. Either you want to do an Aethelflaed or Imhotep, or you want to do Imhotep and Joan of Arc, or you want to do Imhotep and Mulan. There's a lot of combinations that you can do, particularly for support. Attack and defense, 15% attack, 15% defense, which kind of ties him up to archers. Now, if you want to use him as a support with archers, in my opinion, he needs to be first. Now, if you put him first, you lose the 50 less rage per second, and you really don't want to do that. Now, if you want to put him as a second in command, then I would use him with someone like Kusunoki or with someone like Herman. For KvK 1, that's quite alright. If you want to move further and you want to use him as a support for KvK 2, KvK 3, then you definitely need to look into something more legendary. Either you want to put him second to an El Cid, right? Because El Cid has march speed and has more defense as well. It will make the march a little bit more tanky. Or if you plan to invest on Thutmose III, which I've done his commander spotlight as well, you can go ahead and check his video out, and then you would have a very nice support march, Thutmose III and Imhotep. The only reason when Imhotep will probably not be very useful is if his primary skill doesn't stack with Alex, and there is a way we can check that one out. So I have used Alex and Imhotep as a test to see if the primary skill of Imhotep will stack with Alex's primary skill, because once you obtain the expertise of Alex, is also debuffing targets around you. On the turn 10, we see that Alex is casting his primary skill, and then on the second turn we see the damage taken increase by our enemy, which is the barbarian, plus 30%. And on the turn 12, this is where Imhotep is casting his primary skill, and there is no increase in the damage taken. The all damage plus, this is a barbarian effect. This has nothing to do with Alexander or Imhotep. And then on the turn 13 is where we should see Imhotep primary skill being stacked up with Alex, but it's not stacking up because Alex is much more powerful, which means they don't stack up. So as a KvK 2 and 3 perspective, is definitely much better if you use Alex if you have him expertise, but if you don't have an expertise Alex, then Imhotep is a very good option for debuffing. And this is the turn 12 that I was talking about. You have it over here. All damage taken was increased by 30% due to Alexander's the Great Shield of the King. And then further down you have Imhotep cast the High Priestess, which is his primary skill, and it should increase the damage taken on the target by 10%. Now if you look at the start of the next turn, we have Alexander, which is further down. All damage taken was increased by 30%, and there is no bleeding effect, which obviously was cancelled because Alexander the Great is more powerful. because both of them are considered primary skills. So now that we come to that conclusion, it kind of tells us that Imhotep has a very limited utilities. The fact that it doesn't stack with Alex, which Alex is a very known and highly used commander in the game. However, when you reach Season of Conquest, there is Scipio Africanus, the Prime Scipio Africanus, which is a much better version of Alexander. But as a KvK 2 and 3 option, a lot of people invest in Alexander. If you're not going to expertise Alexander, then you can definitely still use Imhotep on the field for the debuffing purposes. Imhotep has different other skills for garrisoning and skill damaging reduction on the targets as well, but the primary utility for Imhotep, it would be his primary skill just for debuffing purposes on the field. As part of his talents, I will definitely post a picture with his talents that I would recommend to be his talents. But like I said, he should be used as a second in command because of his expertise. You want to get all the debuff possibles that you can from his expertise, and that way will make him a very useful as a second in command. My final recommendation about him is that I would use him in KvK 1 for sure. Same as Thutmose III, very high utilities for KvK 1 because that debuff is pretty unique. I find that skill pretty OP for KvK 1, but now that in KvK 2 he's not stacking with Alexander, unless you don't have a max skill Alexander, then yeah, you can go with him, but it is Alexander's expertise which overrules his primary skill. So that means that Alexander would be a much better option to use over Imhotep. In the end, they are just epics, and the game is a lot built around legendary commanders. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about Imhotep. I was pretty hyped when I saw his primary skill, but after doing those tests and seeing that it doesn't stack with Alexander, I kinda tuned down my hype a little bit. Until next time, this is your boy Geroni signing off. Peace out, yo, and take care. See you on the next one, and stay safe out there, my friends.